Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Venus from Hyland headphones, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank my friend of the channel, subscriber, and supporter on Patreon and friend on Discord, Jeremy, for sending over the Venus from Hyland headphones. Jeremy, do greatly appreciate it, and you rock. All right, so the Hyland headphone Venus. This is a headphone that is built in the United Kingdom. It is built by a gentleman named Alex, and he does it all by hand. They cost €650 or about $720 here in the United States. They have 50 millimeter dynamic drivers. They're 32 ohms. Did not have the sensitivity listed. This is the African Rosewood or Babinga wood cups. You can get it in other variants as well. You have a nice metal ear hooks and rod system, plastic little slider cap, and then a true leather strap, and then a single spring steel. Nice big huge leather pads. You can see the big drivers inside there, and the pads are removable. You also get a bunch of accessories. You get this nice cable, which is made by a company called Nlovell, Nlovell Audio. Try to find a link, put it up above here. And I find that this cable is extremely nice. It is a little bit on the stiff side, but overall it's not a bad cable. And the splitter is made of the same wood as the cups. And so if you get a different variant, your splitter will be different, which is nice. Terminates into 3.5s into the cups. And then you have a 3.5 termination for your amplifier with a 1/4 inch. You get a little bag for the cable, and you also get a larger bag for your headphones. A little bit of branding on that bag. You also get some spare pads. These are hybrid pads, velour on the inside, leather on the outside. We'll talk about the differences that the pads make. And then you also get this beautifully crafted box with a little latch, and on the inside it's just huge. Got a little bit of paperwork inside here. Fantastically built box. Alex has some talent when it comes to woodworking. It's a lot better than I could ever do. Anyways, headphones. I find that they're extremely light. They weigh about 360 grams without the cable. The cable doesn't add much at all. And when you put them on your head, they just absolutely disappear. The inputs for the headphones are pointed outward, so your cables will just flow down instead of pointing straight at your shoulders. They'll flow outward, and they are just extremely comfortable with the sheepskin pads. Also, the hybrid pads are extremely nice as well. Speaking of pads, how does that change the difference in sounds? Now, I did prefer the leather pad, so the leather pads will be what are used to do the sound impressions. The velour pads added this lushness to it, like a romanticness to them. And I always found that when I had the velour pads on, that I just kind of wanted to sit back and fall asleep next to a fire, have a cup of tea or coffee, hot chocolate next to me with a book and a cat curled up in my lap, and just kind of, read my book. And if I fall asleep, I fall asleep because I'm listening to music, and it's just so lush and just warm. And it's a thicker sound than you get with the leather pad. But overall, I did enjoy the romanticism of the hybrid pad, but I prefer the leather pad. All right, how does it sound? The Venus has a competent bass. The sub bass is slightly rolled off. It's slightly impactful when called upon, but it's not really much noticed there. Mid bass is the focus of the game when it comes to the bass, and it has nice punch and nice slam to it. It has good tonality, good details, and I enjoy the bass to it. It's a nice toe tapping bass when called upon. Stays well controlled. There's no distortion and no muddiness or anything of the sort. It's just a very well controlled, detailed bass. going into the mids, there's no bleed from the upper bass into the lower mids. Lower mids are slightly recessed. There's a little bit of thinness there. And then going into the main mids, the thinness is still there. And the upper mids are slightly forward and a little bit elevated. Now I find that the mids have good tonality to them, good detail retrieval and resolution, and overall they're a very pleasing sound, but I do find that they're a little far back in the mix for my preference. On the velour pads, that does come forward a little bit, but it's a little bit thicker and more compressed. And then into the treble, the upper mids and lower treble are elevated. The lower treble is a little elevated, and then it starts to come down on the treble. It's very well controlled. Treble does not get into fatigue mode, and it does have good sparkle and energy to it. And there's good details and nice tone and timbre. Overall, I find that the frequency response of the Venus is a very pleasing sound signature. Stays controlled, but gives you enough energy, keeps everything flowing, and it has good detail retrieval and resolution. And overall, the tone and timbre of the Venus is very, very well done. It has a naturalism to it. Soundstage wise, the Venus is a wider soundstage. It is mostly accurate to sounds of different venues. So if something's wide, it's going to sound wide. If it's a little more intimate, it'll come in a little bit. But to me, it's not quite accurate and representative of the size. I find that sometimes it is stretching things a little bit much. But overall, it was a very, very pleasing and fun and immersive soundstage. I like the depth and layering that the Venus offers, and everything. It never sounded claustrophobic or cramped or anything of the sort. Everything always had enough space and air in between, and you could easily identify placements of objects moving around. Things imaged across well and traveled well across the stage, and there was no issues as far as 3-blobness or 2D or anything of that sort. Everything kind of flowed and was proper. It just wasn't the most precise and accurate, but it's over in this neighborhood, it's over in here, that's behind it, that's in front of it, that type of thing. It just wasn't. It's right there. It didn't do that. So overall, I find that the Venus is a very competent headphone and a very pleasing sound and enjoyable. And I really did enjoy listening to the Venus. And when you compare it to, or actually let's talk about what gear I paired it with first. So I used it with the Mytek Liberty DAC, and also with the Headamp GSX Mini and the THX1 Linear from Drop, and the Aueze Deckard, and the Tor Audio Roger. And I found that it played very well on everything. Had no problems powering it. It was very, very happy on whatever I put it on. I also used it on the Sony WM1A, and that powered it as well. And I did like it the most on the Tor Audio. I found that the Tor Audio Roger added just a little bit of body into the mids where they were just slightly thinner. And so I found that that was my pleasing, the most pleasant that I heard the Venus on. I enjoyed it on everything else, but I really enjoyed it from the Mytek Liberty into the Tor Audio Roger. How do they compare to other headphones in its price point? The Hifi Ananda is bigger in the soundstage, more accurate in its placement of the soundstage, and in width and in portrayal of different size venues. Also does a better job with depth and layering, and is more precise. And then the Ananda also has a little bit, has a lot better detail retrieval and resolution, and also is more linear and cohesive in its approach through the bass and the mids, and that is slightly brighter in the upper mids and treble region. The Sennheiser HD660S. The Sennheiser HD660S has more note weight and body and has a more natural tone and timbre than the Venus does. Also, I find that the 660S has slightly better detail retrieval and resolution. And also I find that the 660S is more accurate in its imaging and is more precise in its placement. The Sundara from Hifi. The Sundara from Hifi is better at detail retrieval and resolution than the Venus, has more punchy bass than the Venus, but the Venus is better in tone and timbre and isn't as aggressive in its presentation. And the Venus also has a better soundstage than the Sundara. Overall, I really do enjoy the Venus. I think that it is a very unique build. It's very beautiful to look at, extremely comfortable to wear, and it's just a fun listen. And I like that you can change out the pads and you can go from ooey gooey lushness to a more sparkly energy approach to being a little bit more on the analytical side of things. So overall, I find that the Venus is a very a headphone that I could highly recommend, and it's something different. And so if you're looking for something different to have on your shelf, take a look at the Hyland Venus. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. Also, check out the links down below for information where you can purchase the Venus or any other Hyland headphones. And also, there's all kinds of other information regarding gear, tier lists, and gear rankings, and music recommendations, and how you can contact the channel, file channel, support the channel, all kinds of good stuff down below. So check out the links down below. And then also, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.